Good morning. You're welcome to another edition of Import Export Platform, Facebook Live from 3 Pest Trade Academy, and my name is Delia Imibo. We'll continue our conversation on the what, the why, and how to export to Nigeria. And today we are looking at part 44, and we're talking about import payment documentation. Import payment documentation. When you are importing into Nigeria, there are documentation required, there are documentation involved when you are importing into Nigeria. So that means as an importer, you are supposed to provide some documents to the bank to be able to help you source for funds, foreign exchange now from the government. That means if you don't make this document available, you might have to go and source your own document yourself, source your own fund yourself to be able to effect that payment. And you know, if you are doing a large transaction, you must source fund from the government, because government have the largest forex reserve, more than any citizen of the country. So it's extremely important that your documentation are intact, your documentation are well done, your documentation are well carried out, your documentation are done in such a way that at the end of the day, the documentation enables you to be able to get payment easily from the government. Remember yesterday I spoke about the import guidelines, so I'm still actually discussing guideline. The only thing that is different in what I'm saying or doing right now is that even though I'm discussing guideline from the perspective of payment documentation. So if I'm importing into Nigeria, what kind of documentation is required for me to make available if I'm going to be able to get the forex I'm expecting from the government? If I'm going to be able to get the forex I'm expecting from the government, what kind of documentation am I expected to make available? That's what we'll be discussing this morning. Remember that international trade is largely a business of documentation, and it is such that documentation is required in everything. In fact, documentation is required to clear the goods for export. Documentation is required to clear the good for import. Documentation is required to effect payment. Documentation everywhere. Documentation everywhere. And the implication of that is this: you really cannot do without documentation. The implication of this is that you really cannot do without. As far as national trade is concerned, documentation is something you must do, you must get used to, you must learn to. And I was at a program this week, and there was a panel session on export somewhere in the north, and someone was saying that if you want to kill a Nigerian entrepreneur, as in discouraging, make him not to be interested, just ask about documentation. As in we don't like documentation at all. But if you are going to be an importer, you don't need to just like documentation. You cannot do without documentation. So it's not a matter of whether you like it or not. The issue is that if you are going to be dealing with imports, you cannot do without documentation. As in, documentation is like the lifeline of import business, of export business. And documentation is such a critical element that you really cannot do much without it. Documentation is extremely key. Extremely key. Now, I'm taking time to explain this, to talk about this, because so that to draw me into the mind of my listener, who might also be among those set of people who do not like documentation, that look, you will not be able to do without, you will have issue being able to do anything without documentation. You will have issue being able to do anything without documentation, because that's the way it works. Not just in Nigeria, anywhere in the world. And please note, anything that is general anywhere in the world, you don't have a choice. Anything that is general anywhere in the world, you don't have a choice. Let me give an example. Now, Incoterm 2020 has been launched. It's going to be effective from 2020 January. You know what that means? every letter of credit that will be issued from Nigeria must have Incoterm 2020. If it's not 2020, the people will not accept it. You know what that's done? Either you like it or not, either you want to, you don't want to, you want to use it, you don't want to use it, the world will drag you along. And that's the challenge of international trade. In international trade, you don't have a choice. In international trade, you don't have a choice. In other business, you have a choice. In international trade, you don't have a choice. As in, if you want to buy a product and the other party say this is what we must use, it's unless you don't need the product or you're able to find other people that will be able to use what you want. But if you want to use that product, look, you really will not be able to do anything. Anything. As in, it's so serious that you are literally paralyzed because this is the way it's going to go. This is the way it's going to go. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing, absolutely nothing you can do about it. It's so critical. It's so critical. It's so critical. I'm taking time to talk about it because of the mindset many people still have. As far as international trade is concerned, because of where we are coming from in Nigeria. Remember, it is international trade. You don't have a choice. Remember, it's international trade. You don't have a choice. So even if you don't want it, you don't have a choice but to want it. You know? Why? That is the world order. That is the way the world have accepted to trade. That is what the world has accepted to do. You don't have a choice. International trade is likely a business documentation. So if you don't like document, you can likewise say you won't do trade. You can likewise say you won't do trade. If you don't like document, you can likewise say you won't do trade. All right. I'm trying to get started with the document. I'm talking about two sets of documents. One is payment, document required by bank before making payment to a supplier in a confirmed letter of credit transaction. I'll also be talking about document required for payment, document required by bank for payment before making payment in a bill for collection transaction. Please note, in Nigeria, bill for collection tenor is what is allowed. Bill for collection site is not allowed. In Nigeria, bill for collection tenor is what is allowed. Bill for collection site is not allowed. And it's only documented collection that is allowed. Clean collection is not allowed. Clean collection is not allowed. Documented collection is not allowed in Nigeria. So in Nigeria, if you are doing bill for collection, you must do documentary collection and you must do documentary collection tenor. You cannot do clean collection and you cannot do clean collection or documentary collection site. When I get there, I'll be explaining further on that. What are the documents required for confirmed letter of credit and how do we get them? Number one is the registered E-form. Number two, certificate of origin. Number three, product certificate where applicable. Number four, shipped on board, clean on board, bill of lading, airway bill, roadway bill. Number five, final or commercial invoice. Number six, pro forma invoice. Number seven, parking lease. Number eight, letter of credit instrument. Number one, registered E-form. Remember, at the commencement of this transaction, registered E-form was already available. At the commencement of this transaction, registered E-form will be available at the commencement, at the beginning. Registered E-form will be available. What I mean by that is this. For you to import in Nigeria, your Form M must have been registered. For you to import in Nigeria, your Form M must have been registered. For you to import in Nigeria, your Form M must have been registered. So that means the bank already have your Form M. That means the bank already have your Form M, because your Form M must have been registered. So the bank already have your Form M. The bank must have this Form M in its custody. So this will not be a worry of an importer. You don't need to worry about this particular document. Why? It should be in the custody of the bank already. Because you already open it, submit it, it's already sent to the bank, it's already in the custody of the bank. So the bank cannot say it does not have it, because it's supposed to be in their custody already. It is supposed to be in their custody already. Because it's supposed to be in the custody of the bank already, you don't have to worry about this document. As long as you have opened for them, the bank have it. Number 2, certificate of origin. As an importer, you have to make this available. That means your supplier must get this document. Where is the good originating from? Especially when it's manufactured goods. If it's used goods, it might be moving from one country to the other. But if it's manufactured goods, where was it produced? Where was it produced? Where was it produced? Which country was it produced? And there will be an agency in that country, like in Nigeria, NACIMA issues certificate of origin. That's National Association of Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. And it is automated. NACIMA issues certificate of origin and it is automated in Nigeria. In other countries, it can be issued by a ministry of government, federal ministry, whoever it is issuing it. What is important is that if this document is not issued, you might have issue with clearing the goods, because they are part of the document required for the clearance of goods in Nigeria. The next one is product or SUNCAP certificate. SUNCAP certificate, where applicable. Now, remember that SUNCAP certificate is only issued for finished product that is not food or drug, and not petroleum product. Not food, not drug, not petroleum product. Most products imported into Nigeria will need a SUNCAP certificate. SUNCAP is Standard Organization of Nigeria Conformity Assessment Program. It's a pre-shipment inspection and verification program that ensures that item being shipped into Nigeria is of the right quality. This document is required by the bank. This document must be seen by the bank in the file of the customer. Remember, this is a confirmed letter of credit. That means this document must have been received by the bank from the confirming bank abroad. This means this document must have been received by the bank from the confirming bank abroad. So this document, nothing to worry about it. This document, nothing to worry about it, because it must have been received by the confirming bank abroad. It must have been received by the confirming bank abroad. So you don't need to worry about the fact that this document is going to. You don't need to worry about the fact that this document is going to be available for the bank to effect your payment. However, if you have not gone through the SUNCAP program, you might have issues. However, if you have not gone through the SUNCAP program, you might have issues. You might have issues. The next one is shipped on board or clean on board bill of lading. Airway bill or roadway bill. Now, there are different transport documents in the world. Bill of lading or shipment by sea, transport document of shipment by sea, bill of lading. Transport document of shipment by air, airway bill. Transport document of shipment by road, roadway bill. Transport document of shipment by rail, railway bill. Transport document of shipment by courier, courierway bill. Now, out of those 5, the 3 that are allowed and commonly used in Nigeria is bill of lading by sea, airway bill by air, roadway bill by road for those shipping within Africa. Those 3 documents, any of them can be presented as the transport document for this transaction. Of course, the most commonly used one is the bill of lading. That's for the sea shipment, bill of lading. That's for the sea shipment. That's the most commonly used one, bill of lading. But if it's going by air, airway bill, roadway bill. This will have been sent. Remember, for members with the bank already, certificate of origin should be sent by the exporter to the bank. confirming bank, who will send it to Nigerian bank. Product certificate or Sonka certificate must have been sent also by the exporter through the confirming bank, which should be sent to the importer's bank. Clean on board or ship on board bill of lading must have been sent by the exporter to this bank or confirming bank, and that will be sent to the importer bank. Then final invoice or commercial invoice. Final invoice or commercial invoice. Final invoice or commercial invoice. The final invoice or commercial invoice is the document that shows how much is to be paid. Is the document that showed how much is to be paid. Is the document that showed how much is to be paid. That document, final invoice or commercial invoice, will also be sent, of course. In fact, if the exporter does not send any document, invoice must be sent, because that's what will bring the money. Invoice must be sent because that's what will bring the money. Commercial invoice, final invoice, 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 commercial invoice. Remember, we also have pro forma invoice, but in this case, we are looking at final or commercial invoice. That will also be sent abroad. Pro forma invoice. Remember that pro forma invoice already was in the file. Because when you are processing for MEM, you process for MEM with pro forma invoice, marine insurance certificate done locally, product certificate, and the company must also be registered in Nigeria, and relevant permit. Relevant permit. So this pro forma invoice is just like for MEM, it will already be in the file. This pro forma invoice is just like for MEM, it must already be in the file. If it's not in the file, something is wrong. That means, how did you even open the LC in the first place? How did you even? Because it's assumed it's a letter of credit, not just letter of credit, a confirmed letter of credit transaction. So my question is, how did you open the LC in the first place? Pro forma invoice. Then packing list. Whereas invoice is a document that shows amount due for payment, packing list is a document that shows quantity that was shipped, packaging that was used, how it was arranged, how it was packed, the number of units in a bag, the number of units in a carton, the number of container in the carton in the container, the number of bag in the container, the way they are arranged. All this will be on the packing list. So packing list and invoice are like twin sisters. Most of the time you will see packing list, unless there is a bulk shipment. Most of the time you will see a packing list alongside with an invoice together with a bill of lading for most shipment. From irrespective of what the shipment is. For most shipment. But in the least cases, you have bill of lading and invoice. Bill of lading, evidence of shipment, invoice, evidence of amount due. In least of cases, that's when we are doing bulk. And lastly, the letter of credit instrument. Remember, this is a confirmed letter of credit. Obviously, a bank will not be paying on the confirmed letter of credit, so to say, without seeing the letter of credit instrument. So the person that will be involved in this. The person that will be involved in this, in payment. You know, sometimes in a bank, you have different units, a unit handling for MEM, a unit handling document examination when it comes, a unit handling payment when it's due in future. That unit handling payment when it's due in future, he must see this. So it's possible that it was not the one that issued the LC, it's another person in the unit that issued the LC. But he must see this in the file. If you say this is an LC transaction and we're going to pay on it, I must see it in the file. Remember, there is someone called Central Bank of Nigeria. This Central Bank of Nigeria is an agency of government in Nigeria that comes for examination of bank from time to time. This document, this guideline was issued by them. So when they come, they just call for files randomly. And then check the file and see that payment has been made in the file, and look for all these documents that are supposed to be in the file as evidence that the customer in question have complied with all the requisite documentation for the bank to pay. So when that CBN come and check the file and did not find any of these documents expected in the file, the bank will have to pay a fine. The bank will have to be sanctioned for infraction on the regulation, and the bank will still have to regularize. The customer will be called to question. You know why all these are necessary? They are just a way of controlling, because if people have to get all these documents, that means money laundering become a little bit reduced, a little bit, because money laundering happens a lot in Nigeria, because a lot of our people are not even skilled enough on how to manage these money laundering issues. The next thing is, remember I mentioned 8 documents. Now I have 11 documents now for bill for collection tenured. Now remember I said bill for collection that is not tenured is not allowed in Nigeria. Bill for collection that is not tenured is not allowed in Nigeria. Why? For you to pay on a bill for collection in Nigeria, you must provide what is called exchange control documents. And these documents for bill for collection include evidence that the good has been cleared. For a letter of credit, that is not necessary, because letter of credit already guaranteed payment. So letter of credit is a bit firmer. You know, bill for collection is glorify open account. If you know how open account work, I ship goods, send document, and payment is made afterwards. That's what happens with bill for collection. The only difference here is that I ship goods, send document, and payment is made afterwards, but the documents are channeled through the bank, and the importer sign an undertaking that he will pay. The importer sign an undertaking that he will pay. That is the only difference. But the bank that gave him that document to sign is not liable. So that means if the importer elope, cannot be found, could not pay, nothing will happen. No bank, I can only take him to court as an exporter. That importer, the bank will not be forced to make that payment, because the bank did not give obligation. Who gave obligation? The customer gave obligation. That's the importer, which is the customer of the bank, gave the obligation. Registered E-form M. I've mentioned that already, so I won't elaborate on that again. That is registered E-form. That's normal, that's expected. I will elaborate here on documents that are peculiar to bill for collection. Registered E-form. Number 2, certificate of origin. I've also mentioned that. That's also required under letter of credit, under confirmed letter of credit. Certificate of origin. Number 3, product or SUNCAP certificate, or regulatory document. That also is allowed, is also part of the confirmed letter of credit. Shipped on board, clean on board, bill of lading, or airway bill or roadway bill. That's also the same. Parking list. Similar. Parking list. Final or commercial invoice. Similar. Now, the 5 documents that are different in bill for collection that I will now emphasize and spend more time on are bill of exchange, number 1. SGDS done by custom, number 2. PAR, number 3. Exit note, number 4. Import duty receipt, number 5. Number 1, bill of exchange. In the course of this transaction, because it's bill for collection tenor, the exporter will attach a document to the bill of lading, packing list, or the shipping document that's supposed to be clear. He will attach a document called bill of exchange that the bank will give to the importer to sign before they release document to him. This bill of exchange is a document that confer right to demand for payment. It is an unconditional, it is negotiable, it is transferable. It is unconditional because when I sign a bill of exchange, I've basically said that I am obligated to pay under every circumstances. Under no circumstance should I give an excuse that I will not pay. Unconditional. Number 2, it is negotiable. I can sell it. I can sell it at a discount. And then I expect payment in future. It is negotiable. It is transferable. If you Google bill of exchange, you see different types and different designs online. But it's an IOU document issued by an exporter in favor, to demand money for an importer. But an importer will sign to accept that bill of exchange. The bill of exchange typically will have an expiry, so a maturity date when payment will be made, and that will be known to the whoever it is that is signing. So when me are looking at bill of exchange without knowing about transaction, I know when payment will be made. The next one is in the cost of clearing. The first document and the next document that we will encounter is called PA. All the shipping document, bill of lading, invoice, packing list, certificate of origin, SUNCAP certificate, all those documents will be scanned, uploaded online, sent to the bank, the custom, and custom will issue a pre-arrival assessment report. Pre-arrival assessment report is a document in Nigeria. Okay, I'm thinking now maybe I should also upload that. It's one of the documents I think will be good for me to upload. A pre-arrival assessment report. Pre-arrival assessment report is a document in Nigeria that is used for clearing. If I'm importing in Nigeria, if I don't have pre-arrival assessment report, that good cannot be cleared. Immediately document arrive with the bank. The first thing the bank does is to process pre-arrival assessment report. I'm trying to get it. I don't know where I'm able to locate it here. The first thing the bank does is to process pre-arrival assessment report. Immediately your document arrives, the bank will process a pre-arrival assessment report. And what is the bank trying to do? When the pre-arrival assessment is processed, it gives the customer an idea of the rate of duty that will be paid. The rate of duty that will be paid. At this point, sometimes the customer can contest and say, no, what you are saying I should go and pay is not correct. I'm not supposed to pay this much. No, what you are saying I should go and pay is not correct. I'm not supposed to pay this much. At this point, the customer can contest it. The customer can contest it at this point. The pre-arrival assessment report. Pre-arrival assessment report is a document issued by custom. And when this document is issued by custom, it's basically telling us that this document is basically giving us an insight into the amount due for payment. It's giving us an insight into the amount due for payment. It's giving us an insight into the amount due for payment for duty. So it's assessing the goods being shipped and giving us an insight into duty payable. Remember, at this point, the good might be in transit. The good have not arrived. But it gives the importer opportunity to either contest if he has issue or go and raise the money ahead of when the good will arrive. In fact, he doesn't even need to wait for the good to arrive. He can go and pay duty. He can initiate the clearing process even before the good arrives. The idea here is this. This enables the importer to be able to avoid unnecessary charges. This enables the importer to be able to avoid unnecessary charges that a regular importer face in the cost of importing into Nigeria. It helps him to avoid unnecessary charges that an importer face in the cost of importing into Nigeria. Why I'm trying to put that up, let me round off now. There will be SGD. Single good declaration is a document issued in the cost of clearing goods. When you initiate clearing, go to DTI, that will be issued. That's one of the documents issued in the cost of clearing goods in Nigeria. Single good declaration. That document will be issued, and that single good must be endorsed by custom. That's an evidence that custom have cleared these goods. And this good, that custom have endorsed this good for clearance. Or customer, that this document is not fake, it's from custom. Because custom will stamp it, it's stamped. Then, import duty receipt. When I process my SGD at direct tracer input, I will get my assessment notice and go and pay duty. This duty must be attached as the document and bring it back to the bank as evidence that I've cleared the good. Import duty receipt. Import duty receipt. Import duty receipt is an evidence that I have been able to clear the goods. Import duty receipt is an evidence that I've been able to, that I've paid. Now, remember, bill for collection is a glorified open account. People might not pay duty, that the people might not bring anything into Nigeria, or they brought stuff into Nigeria and they are not paying the requisite duty, but they want to utilize government funds, FX, to pay. So what this does is that this exchange control document, this document we're talking about, enable a bank to check and be sure that eventually this thing we are paying for is not a fluke. There was a value brought into Nigeria, and Nigeria is then eligible. Nigeria is therefore eligible to effect payment. Nigeria is therefore eligible to effect payment. Nigeria is therefore eligible to effect payment. Why? We can see the value that were brought into the country by virtue of the document that is being presented. We can see the value that was brought into the country by virtue of the document being presented. So this value brought into the country makes it possible. This value brought into the country, I've not been able to say. I thought it was the par I have is the wrong par. Oh, no. I thought I have the par, but no problem. Okay, so the import, and then lastly, exit note. Exit note is an evidence that the document, the goods, was eventually left the port. That means something left the port. Remember what we are trying to do? We are trying to ensure that indeed there was a shipment. Indeed there was a shipment, and the document being presented is not fluke. So at the end of the day, government is not just incurring our hard-earned forex to pay for what is not existent. Government is not using our hard-earned forex to pay for what is non-existent. All right, thank you very much for listening again today. My name is Dele Ayimibo, and this is Import-Export Platform, Facebook Live from 3 Best Trade Academy. See you in the evening, and bye for now.